This is not about my eating habits, guys.
No, now it is because now it's recording. Yep. All right, guys.
Bird.
Welcome back. We missed a week, so we're off a week, but it's Thursday.
It's Thursday,
and Alex didn't forget. Super proud of him. But episode 20. It is May 8th, and some things happened today. We're going to talk about it.
Like, I'm just proud you remembered the date.
I looked at the TV at the bottom corner of it to make sure.
Normally we have to go. What's today's date?
I remembered where to look for it. That's what I did today. But episode 20, we'll start off with we have confirmed there's a fourth state of matter. Do you guys know what it is?
I do not.
Nope. It's the Wendy's Frosty. It's not a liquid. It's not a solid. And it'll 100% give you gas. Hoping for more of a reaction than that. But okay.
Good. I like gas.
Give you gas.
Give you gas. All right. So, there's some Pope things happening today. That is kind of interesting. They went in to try to elect a new Pope yesterday and did four sets of ballots yesterday and did not come to a conclusion. But they did today. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. First, did any of you guys see that the day before the Pope died, he was visited by J.D. Vance?
Yes.
No, I didn't see that.
Yes.
It's a big old thing.
How did I not see that?
I don't know how you didn't see that. He sat over there in Rome waiting for a few days. And then finally, Easter Sunday, the Pope called him in. Really? Milkshake slurps. Pope called him in, visit him, and then guess what? The next day he dies. So there is a group of people out there convinced that J.D. Vance is an assassin and somehow poisoned the Pope.
I like it.
So who really knows at this point? Too many other things have happened. Too many weird things. It's also been almost 3 weeks now, hasn't it? 2 weeks?
Just over 2.
21st to the 8th. Yeah, just over 2 weeks ago. So, other thing that happened, Alex shared it. I had seen it other ways. That Qayyum Abba al-Sadiq Abdullah Hasim claims to be sent from Jesus and says Christendom is corrupt and the papacy has been stolen and he is the only one that should be followed. And Alex shared that video to the chat. I went and looked, and I found his YouTube page. And there's a whole lot more videos of that nonsense on there. So, we now have what appears to be a false prophet coming out. I don't know what he's going to have to say for everybody. Alex, do you have anything you want to add to this little false prophet bit before we actually get into the popage?
Well, as I will say, sorry, I was eating, but there's been many false Christs, false prophets, you name them, we've got them, and we're going to keep seeing more until that day approaches. So, yeah,
this is the first one that I can remember publicly coming out and saying that Jesus sent him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody else has heard of any or seen of any, but this is the first one that I can think of that literally came out and said, all religions are wrong. You need to follow me. Jesus sent me. So it's kind of interesting. So there was also a prophecy out there that allegedly labeled this pope should have been named Peter.
Peter
should have been, according to the prophecy of the popes. Remember we went over that here many weeks back.
Mm-hmm.
Peter the Roman was supposed to be the one to take over after Francis.
Whoa, I'm sorry.
Kind of blowing that microphone out there.
Whoops.
Whoops
a daisy.
So that St. Malachi had a vision, and his vision is 844 year span divided into two 422-year parts, which was 422 years before him, 422 years after him. The last three popes are kind of where it got interesting, because you had Saint Benedict, who was prophesied would step down, and he did. Saint Francis was predicted to be a Jesuit pope, which he was. And then the last pope was predicted as Peter the Roman. So as of right now, I don't see it playing out as him being Peter the Roman. But did you see who took over the World Economic Forum the same day the Pope died? A man by the name of Peter Brabeck.
Robotus Catucadus.
Yeah. He looks like a cyborg. Got one weird looking eye. He came out and has the view that humans don't have a natural right to water, and says that he wants to limit everyone's water. You basically get about 100 liters a day. That seems like more than you would need, but still at the same time, he's the one now controlling the World Economic Forum, which is the ones that try to put all of our economic policies and our Greta Thunberg issues out there. But we did elect a guy by the name of Robert Prevost from Chicago. Chicago. The very first American Pope. And I don't know how I feel about it.
Me neither.
So I didn't look to see if he was one of the ones. But they started this whole ordeal yesterday trying to elect the Pope. In order to vote, it's all cardinals under the age of 80 are included in the vote, minus those on trial currently, and there currently is one on trial. So that's 135 cardinals in total. 108 of them were appointed by St. Francis. So after day one, no vote, and then today we had Robert Prevost come to the front. Leo the 14th. Alex, I know you got something you want to go talk to about.
Well, I do have something about Leo the 14th. But first, let me just say this, because I have to. So here's the deal with the prophecy of the popes. One, I don't know about you three, but I definitely, and I think others would agree with this as well, but I don't stand with the Catholic Church. I don't believe that we came from the Catholic Church. And I will continue to stand behind that as far as that goes. However, that being said, sorry, I'm trying to change my lighting here a little bit. That being said, the deal is that the prophecy of the popes may not be true. Just because it's a Catholic prophecy doesn't mean it's a biblical prophecy. Nostradamus has oftentimes, mentioned, hey, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. The Mayan calendar, and in 2012, all these different things happen, but the end of the age still hasn't come. So correct. What I personally want to say is that we could be at the last pope. We very well could be there. And as we get into this, there will be a lot more tall tale signs for that. However, that doesn't necessarily prove anything or disprove anything. It just basically, the one thing that you want to focus on is the Temple Mount in Israel. That is the epicenter of the world. When the temple is built, you will start to understand the unraveling of the end of the age. If you read your Bible, which most people don't, but hopefully you're a part of the people that do read their Bible, the Bible actually talks about a 42-month period, which is 3.5 years of peace, and then 3.5 years of destruction. We call that Daniel's 70th week, 7 days. And so that has more to do with the Temple Mount, and it has more to do with the book of Maccabees than any Catholic understanding of any biblical doctrinal thing. Not only that, but the Catholics don't follow the Torah, which is the holy portion of the Bible. And according to some rabbinic commentaries, which may or may not be important, that's not what I'm trying to get at. The important thing is that everything else in the scripture is based off of those 5 books. And John, the Revelator, John the Beloved, who is also called the John the Revelator, wrote in his self-proclaimed epistle, John chapter 1, verse 1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That word was devar, D-E-V-A-R, the Hebrew word for thing and or word. Well, that word is exactly what Moses wrote in that first 5 books we call the Pentateuch and or the Torah. That word became flesh, and that word put on skin and bones, and he became a man, and he died for the sins of the world. And so that is what we need to be following. We do not need to be following any type of Catholic thing, because we're not Catholic. We come out of the Jewish church. That's who we are. That's what we believe. And if anybody has issue with that, you can always message Tyler. Okay, so moving right along. When it comes to this gentleman who has just come forward as the new pope, if you want to go ahead and get into it, Troy, we can definitely do this. So his name, well, let me first say this. We need to ask, do these elements point to a servant of truth, or do they raise prophetic red flags? So, Robert, the name Robert actually means bright flame and gloriously shining. This is this guy's first name. Discernment is needed here, but scripture teaching that Hasatan, the devil, can appear as an angel of light, 2 Corinthians 11:14, shining outwardly does not guarantee alignment with God's truth. Clearly, Isaiah 14:12 says the rebellious one, the shining one, who has cast down for exalting himself, or who is cast down for exalting himself. A name meaning bright flame, this is another term that Robert means, bright flame, may imply a person who radiates moral or spiritual prominence, but if not grounded in Yeshua as the Torah incarnate, this brightness could mask deception. So then we go on to his broad name that they gave him, which is Leo. This is not indicative of our friend Leo on our podcast, but just the name Leo. Leo has a strong lion symbolization. The lion biblically refers to the tribe of Judah, a clear messianic symbol of Yeshua. And you see that in Revelations 5:5. If someone adopts a lion symbolism without coming into alignment to the Torah and to Yeshua, they may be presenting a rival kingship or one that claims authority but not from Hashem, which is just the name. Yud-He Vav-He is the name of God. Anyway, so Daniel 7 shows lion-like beasts representing Gentile empires, often hostile to the holy ones. A lion that tramples instead of redeems could make us pause. So number 3, I'm going to butcher this because I don't know Latin, but rerum novorum. It means a legacy of social authority. So Pope Leo XIII, because I don't know Roman numbers either, he was around in 1891, they called him this term, but it's Latin for of new things, or a legacy of social authority. So addressed in labor rights, private property, and the role of the church in social justice. While it championed worker dignity, it also laid a foundation for the Catholic Church to claim moral authority over economics and politics. Of Pope Leo XIV 14 is invoking this, if he is invoking this legacy, intentionally or symbolically, it may signal a renewed claim to global influence, and not just spiritually, but socio-politically. So, for apostolic believers, any move to reassert centralized religious power over nations must be tested against the Torah's call for justice and Yeshua's kingship, not man's. And then, of course, the number 14. We have to talk about the number 14 because it does mean something. It is the symbol of redemption. So the number 14 is deeply connected to Pesach. The 14th of Nisan is when Israel was delivered by the blood of the Lamb. A leader taking this number while not preaching the blood of Yeshua as the Lamb of God may be approaching redemptive symbolism without covenantal truth. So if Pope Leo 14 is seen as a redeemer or a liberator of modern society, but does not exalt Yeshua as Yud-He Vav-He, or Hashem, he could fulfill the pattern of a false prophet cloaked in deliverance rhetoric. So there's a couple of prophetic parallels. We have Matthew 24:24. Jesus warned false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs, wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. And Revelation 13, the second beast, false prophet, has horns like a lamb. He's a messianic image, but he speaks like a dragon. His authority is rooted in rebellion. Religious power, when married to empire, can become spiritually dangerous. So, in conclusion, symbolically, Pope Leo XIV may represent more than a spiritual leader. He may embody a religious system seeking renewed influence, possibly under the guise of compassion and justice. Consider these symbolic flags: a name meaning bright flame, um, a title invoking the Lion of Judah or Leo without submission to use Jesus' kingship, the number 14 pointing to redemption but potentially hijacked, connection to that Latin word that we said earlier suggests a renewed church authority over the world systems. So, finally, if his message does not align with the Torah or with the teachings of Jesus and the apostles as the fullness of Hashem, apostolic believers must walk in discernment. We are not looking for conspiracies, but we're looking for truth, and we need to remain grounded in the promise that the true Lion of Judah is coming soon to reign in righteousness. So that's my take on the name and who he stands for. So basically, what I'm saying is, his potential, definitely yes. There's a lot of symbolism there, absolutely. But does this mean he is the false prophet? We do not know. We need some more investigative things to happen, and not only that, there just needs to be some blatant, things happening that prophetically take place in Scripture that would point this gentleman into being that last pope.
Yep. I mean, it sounds like there's more potential here, I believe, than with Francis.
Yeah.
So there's definitely sounds like there's a whole lot more potential. What I was looking at today kind of goes along. He's definitely more liberal in his feelings.
Yes.
He had not posted on social media for multiple years until this year. And he's now made 5 posts against our current administration. So he's definitely on the more liberal side. And I think that action this year is probably part of the reason why he got brought up to the front and we weren't really thinking about him. Because like I said, I had a list of popes. He wasn't even on the list of of the people that were in contention. So
yeah, he wasn't on my list either.
He just kind of came out of nowhere as far as I was concerned. And as far as I believe, I pulled my list off CBS, and CBS didn't even have him as a candidate. So it's kind of a weird thing where he came from and what's going on with that. So we did have, I don't know if you guys saw it or not, they had the very first Filipino. I got his name on here. Cardinal Luis Tagle of the Philippines. The very, very, very first one ever from the Philippines to be nominated. So they were definitely diversifying more on this one than I feel they ever had before. But with 108 of these current cardinals being appointed by by Pope Francis, I don't know that we ever had a chance to get anybody who wasn't more on the liberal side. So,
well, if I can say this too,
You can.
the Catholic Church has always, shut up, Tyler. The Catholic Church has always been a leading in kings and authoritative figures such as presidents, dignitaries, kings, all that stuff. The Catholic Church has basically ran that since the start. Oftentimes the popes would push and or direct these authoritative figures like kings, dignitaries, all that stuff into their own agendas.
Yeah.
And you can see this very clearly in the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th centuries, and even maybe a little bit before that, maybe the 12th and 13th century as well. So you can see all that, and 12th and 11th century anyway. So if you can understand that, what's happening now is that the UN is basically, controlling the globe, so to speak. And he is a sitting individual who has a lot of influence on the European Union, which is not for Israel at all.
No.
In fact, they very much so hate Israel, and they've made that very clear by some of the things that they've done in the past, year. So, if it wasn't clear before it will be clear to all of native native Israelis and Jews abroad in the world. Anybody that can trace their lineage back to Israel, you're a target, and really anybody that can trace your lineage back to Jesus, being that you've accepted his blood, you've accepted his sacrifice, and he's your Messiah, you're a target because the darkness wants to destroy you.
Yep.
And I think at this point in our world, we're looking at people who are maybe more or less saying, "Is this real?" Yes, it's real. It's 100% real.
Yep.
And it's only going to get more obviously real. But people like to live in that blinded state because they want to do what they want to do and not get in trouble for it.
Yes.
It's not about that. Just live for God. Live for Hashem the way that He wants you to live for Him. It's like a relationship, You don't get married to a chick and then be like, "Hey, I'm out. See you in a couple of years." I mean, we can go down the marriage train, but after the information, I'd rather not.
Yeah. We'll not do that. Not do that on camera while recording, anyway.
Yes. Yeah. After maybe.
Yeah. Tyler, do you have anything to add?
Got a
Pope.
Sasquatch.
It's a Pope. We have a Pope.
Potpourri.
Yeah. So, only
I
other
don't follow
thing.
Pope stuff.
No, I usually don't, but it's kind of a current event, so that's the only reason I was following it. The only thing that I noticed on social media, on X, formerly Twitter, there was calls for a Cardinal Robert Sarah, and he was the only one that they're considering being a conservative. But that was, again, only on Twitter, only on the more conservative side of people. But I doubt he was even considered. He's out of Africa, but it's one of the things that he's not gonna. Well, probably wasn't even in contention.
Africa, you say?
He's from Africa.
It's the rainy season down in Africa.
That is correct.
Inappropriate. Highly inappropriate. Debauchery once again.
Yep. So, sorry. 3 weeks of going on sick. Almost over it, I think. Finally finished my antibiotics yesterday. It's not been fun. So,
Did you see your anal biotics?
antibiotics.
What in the heck just happened, guys? I mean, we literally went south for the winter.
Yeah.
Talking about butt stuff. I mean, yeah.
No, you were.
I heard. That's what I heard. I apologize.
No, you made that up on your own, guy.
100% made that up.
Definitely made that up.
I'm like, well, how sick
And
was
it's-
Troy? I mean, my goodness, he couldn't keep anything down. They had to go the other way.
Hey, Troy, can
Hey.
you pull up that picture I sent you for
When?
our sponsors?
For our sponsors.
Yeah. for
Oh,
our
we have sponsors.
We do.
don't-
This
we
week
don't
we
have-
have sponsors.
Holy cow!
Yes.
What
We have
picture
sponsors.
Are you
Holy
referring to?
moo!
The
Holy
one of
moo
C
cow.
Fizzle. The one of
Huh?
C Fizzle. The one of C Fizzle.
If you send it on the group chat, I'm gonna have a hard time finding it because we've had
Tyler,
a lot of conversation on there today.
Help me out, Tyler.
What do you want me to do? You didn't send me anything.
The picture
That thing
here.
there.
I'll
The only thing
resend
you ever
it to
send
the
me
group
is
chat.
hate.
Well,
Pope Francis.
you kind of deserved it.
Oh, you
Anyway,
Oh,
send her again, huh?
I
All right.
wanted to just give a shout out to one of our mini sponsors this week, and he is.
Pop.
It's a
That is
it's a
a-
doozy.
Terrible picture.
It's a doozy. Put him on there, Tyler. Put him on.
I'm bringing him up. Hold on a second.
Okay,
Tyler's
so-
got him. Okay.
This is the hemoglobin haberdashery himself, Chad Fizzle, trying to read a receipt. That is one of our sponsors this week. Chad can't actually read, so I literally cried laughing so hard because of this photo. Because if you know Chad, He literally cannot read, and he's studying this receipt like it's going out of style. Like he's looking for quasars and just all kinds of wild stuff. The meaning of his life is in that receipt, and I was like,
Yep.
why are you reading the receipt? And by the way, that's a 10-year-old photo. So
It is?
it is a 10-year-old photo. Yeah, it
Okay.
happened like 10 years ago. We went to
I
KFC.
see.
Chad, for some reason, thought I'm going to read this receipt, even though I can't read. So
Nice.
that is sponsor number one. Our second sponsor happens to be Krusty Steve's Auto Detail. If you don't clean him, he won't. So, sponsor number two. Tyler, do we have any other sponsors? I don't
You
remember.
said there was
who else.
3 this week.
Were there 3?
Yeah.
One of them was waiting on Tyler to make a graphic.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Geeky Tea is actually sponsoring this podcast episode, which is probably the only real sponsor that we have.
No, we don't have any sponsors because we are mentioning things and not get any compensation for them. So
Chad trying to read that receipt is definitely going to give compensation to us.
yeah, I doubt it.
But anyway, so those a message from our sponsors to our beloved guests that are probably thinking, why? And
Why?
hey, it's comedy. That's why.
Yep.
Stay classy, San Diego.
I don't
We're in
know if you-
Indiana.
I don't know if you noticed that yet. I was looking at that, or someone pointed out the other day that Spotify has us listed as a comedy.
How's this? Those
I love
comedy?
it.
Yeah.
I don't remember putting it as a comedy, but
Yeah.
okay.
We've earned
Spotify.
that.
I'm
Spotify
okay.
has us listed as a comedy.
That's
Good.
awesome.
Yeah.
All 7 subscribers. That are on there.
Yeah. The faithful 7.
You know who you are. You know who you are if you're
Yeah, there's
doing it.
probably 4 of us right here.
Well, I don't have Spotify, so it's not me. I'm a subscriber on YouTube.
I'm a. Oh,
Troy is laying into one of the boys right now.
Troy's like, stop it right now.
He's
Don't
gonna
make me get up
spank
here.
your hiney.
I will slap you in the face.
Will spank your hiney, son.
Oh,
Wow.
I better turn this
What
back
is
on.
going on?
What? We were just
Huh?
narrating what you were saying.
We were
Okay.
just talking about our sponsors.
I doubt it. I've got
Yep.
children
We've got
bouncing,
more
on,
sponsors.
bouncing
next
on great
week.
big bouncy balls over here.
Next week, when we do another podcast episode, we'll have more sponsors brought to you by KBB, condenser microphone, something.
Huh?
I don't know. I'm just making
I
it
don't
up.
know. All I know is Alex's microphone thing is not turning off. His thing is staying purple all the time.
Well, that's because the furnace is on.
That's
Are
because
you-
there's always noise coming from
Are you
Alex.
closer to it
This
than
is
normal?
Because
Because
Alex
it
is
didn't do
always
that last
talking.
week.
No.
All right. Anyway, Tyler,
What's up?
Tech Corner, covering something this week. We don't usually do
Oh,
those kinds of
I
things.
didn't know it was going to happen. Since we
I
didn't
told
get
you
to
it was
do
on there.
Oh, I mean, you did last time, but
Yeah.
I didn't see it on this week. So no, I'm happy it's on
We
there.
did-
I
we
had
didn't-
stuff.
We didn't change it. It was just going to be the same podcast, just a week later.
Oh,
So-
I didn't watch it in the videos, but okay, I'm cool with it.
It was in there. There was something in there about it. Now you're going to make me look at it.
Don't make him
I
look.
should have asked. I should have asked.
I'm pretty sure I put something in there. It may not have said exactly that. That is the wrong YouTube channel. I've only got 4, so you'll have to give me a second. YouTube Studio.
So Monday, I have to
Let me
go
look.
2 hours and 30 minutes away from home. Yay!
Congratulations.
Not looking forward to it, guys.
Content.
Not looking forward to it. But it's good
Shorts.
time to get
Episode
a good
20.
audio book in.
Play.
Did JD assassinate the Pope? Will this be the last Pope?
We discussed those.
Is Russia to blame for our falling space station?
Failing.
Yes, they are. 100%. All right, moving on.
What's the next one say?
Does the WEF... Well, it went off really fast.
Does the WEF own underpants? No, they do not own any underpants.
Have the right to limit how much water?
Nope. I guess I didn't put it on there. Darn it. Okay. I do apologize. I missed that one.
It's okay. We
I
forgive you.
apologize.
Total forgiveness.
But
over here.
we're still doing it. So
Yeah, do it. That's fine.
We're
I
still
can
doing
work
it.
with that.
We're still doing it.
I don't have all the answers if you have questions off the top of my head, but where do we want to start? How do we want to do this?
What is it?
What is it?
That's probably the best place to start. What are we talking about?
Nintendo Switch 2.
2. Dose.
Because I just bought 2 more Nintendo Switch regulars at Christmas for my kids. So the new one's got to come out.
Hey, you know
It's
what?
coming.
I will buy one of those whenever you get the new one.
Switch 2. Yeah, it's a more powerful console, obviously. It's coming out at a higher price point than what a lot of people were hoping.
$450.
And that's without a game. With the game, it's $500.
Shiny.
It's a little steep.
Yeah. You know, a lot of things have kind of dominoed effect since this happened. One of the big things they did was say that not every game, let me put this up to my mic, not every game is going to be $80, but they have a couple that are coming out at $80. One being the new Mario Kart.
Right. So Nintendo likes to have DLCs and stuff on some of their games. So hopefully this means you get everything when you buy the $80 game. And there's no DLC stuff later.
So one thing they did say about this game is that they're trying to make it to where everyone can have the same content across the board. Hence why that's so much more worth, so much more money. So that's the idea, is that they're just going to constantly update it, and so that everyone who's playing gets the same content, the same characters, and can do everything with their friends. The other cool thing that they're offering is if, let's say, let's say I have this game and the system, and everyone else has a system, but they don't have the game, I can game share it. I can share it to people, and everyone can play the multiplayer game with me. So that's you can
awesome.
play it split screen like you normally, back in the day, but you can also, share the game digitally with your friends.
That's
in the same
cool.
room.
That's really cool.
In the computer world, you can computerize the computer.
The biggest thing with me that I always worry about is backward compatibility, and as of right now, it looks like that is a thing.
Yep,
So
everything.
your Switch games should work.
Most of them will work. There are a few that won't, and it's mainly the ones that have special peripherals with them. Like, let's say there was a thing called Labo that used cardboard that kids could put things together and put the Switch into. Those won't be as compatible because Switch 2 isn't going to fit. It's bigger, it's thinner, it's different things. And it should, on a surface level, play all the Switch 1 games better on the Switch 2. Because the big standard in today's gaming sphere is they use the engine. The game engines are allowed to dramatically go up and down depending on the software or the hardware that it's being played on. So the game that ran at real low, almost 30 frames per second on the Switch 2 will in theory run at a smooth 60 frames per second. So it's going to be a lot better experience.
Nice.
So does backwards compatibility means that you can play it backwards, or you can play it while you're walking backwards?
Yeah, it's a portable. You can play it upside down if you want.
Incredible.
His mind's blown.
Days, man.
His mind's blown.
It is powerful.
The battery life though has me worried.
Yeah,
and I don't know if it's because they kept the same battery and went with a higher processor, or did they go with a less powerful battery?
It's a couple things that's eating away at the battery. I think it's promoting about 2 to 4 hours of battery.
2 to
Very
6.5 is what I pulled off the internet.
So the
Depending
big thing
on what
is
you're doing.
It's depending on what you're playing. It has a bigger GPU in it. It's more of a customized chipset inside, so it's pulling a lot more power. It's upscaling everything to 4K on your TV screen and 1080p native on your handheld. So that right there is requiring a lot more power.
But if you have it hooked to your TV, you're not using your battery power.
Right. But to go back into saying what is inside it is there's a bigger power. So when you're playing it portably, you're chewing through what you have charged up. It's
You're chewing
also
through your shoes.
But quick question: Why do I need a 1080 display on a 5-inch display?
well, it's a 7.9-inch display.
I know,
It's a little
but
bigger.
you're not going to be able to see the resolution difference between like 720 and 1080 on that small of a screen.
You're not going to be able to see.
Is that because of the way the light reflects?
No. The big point about that is the graphics and the pixels are going to be sharper, so you won't see as much anti-aliasing and not as much fracting going on in your screen. So it will be a smoother looking picture with less fuzziness going on. So you're going to get a better looking graphic on the handheld itself.
Yeah.
Plus, it's going to have HDR built in, so high definition high definition. What's the stinking thing?
Revolution.
Revolution. HDR. It's basically color. Your color range is going to be expanded, and you're going to have better blacks, and your shines are going to be a little bit better.
That was a racist comment.
HDR is high dynamic range.
Why they have to be
High
black? That's
dynamic
all I'm asking.
range.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't see it on my list of notes here, but the you're talking about the chipset earlier. So I can't remember who made it.
NVIDIA.
There it is, right there. I just found it right within it. So it was 100% custom processor made just for them for the Switch.
Yep.
It's not something they pulled off the shelf that's being used in other things. It's 100% custom just for this.
Yep.
So I think that could also be a factor in your price point, because it's not something that they had already made. They made it special for this. So
You also have the lovely T word, the tariffs that are affecting everything, and the stuff they use to create the chips themselves. That is also being a bit more higher in price because of all the inflation.
Gotta love that inflation.
I pulled a article from Forbes. The console appeared to have been $450 prior to the tariffs, and they're not planning on changing that. Now, all the accoutrements that go with it, all the extra accessories, those I do believe will be heavily hit, and probably close to doubled in price, probably like 30 to 50% higher than what they would have been.
Most of them have gone up to $10 to $20 more than what they would have came out normally.
Yeah,
because of the tariffs. Now, with that being said, you can use your Switch 1 controller, like if you have a Pro controller, you can use it on your Switch 2.
Nice.
You just can't use the Switch 2 stuff on the Switch 1.
So it's not backwards compatible.
The games are backwards compatible now.
Listen, I don't know much about this. Okay.
Joy-Cons, not even if you're not using them as part of attaching, are those?
Yeah, you can use your Joy-Cons on the Switch 2. You just can't slide them in, right? It's just...
That's good to know, because I have a lot of those.
Well, and unfortunately, Switch 1 Joy-Cons are very susceptible to drift. And so the button, the stick's going to move slowly.
So out of the six or seven Switches that are in this house, I think it's just 6. I only have one that had any Joy-Con drift.
Good on you.
I don't know what the average thing is, but I only have one. And that was on a light. That wasn't even actual Joy-Con. That was actual Switch
built
lights.
in.
Yeah.
I still have my OG Switch that was one of the first ones that came out, and I have never had any. But I don't normally play portably. I rarely play it portably.
Yeah. You never went and bought the OLED?
Nope.
No? I didn't either.
No. I bought an OLED TV instead.
What are the new screens? Are they OLED also, or are they something different?
Nope. The screen is your normal LCD or LED.
Why did they do that?
Well, to keep the price down, to help to keep it lower. But that's why they went ahead and included the HDR technology and made it 1080p.
Yeah.
They kind of try to meet people in the middle because it gives Nintendo an excuse to now come out with a more premium model.
Come out
2 years
Switch 2
down.
OLED.
Yep.
Yep.
It's going to have better battery life. It's going to have your OLED. and it's going to have, fancier looking kickstand and whatever else you want to throw on there.
That's going to be like a $550 to $600 Switch.
Well, you know
that
what I
will
meant?
be crazy.
Like I mentioned before, everything kind of had a domino effect.
Yeah.
So earlier this week, because of Switch being out and all this, and they set the playing field for the video game prices to go up, Xbox announced, or Microsoft announced, that all their consoles and all their games are going to start going up in price. So usually this late in the generation, you start getting value as things depreciate.
Yeah.
Well, now Xbox Series X, everything's going up $100. So all the consoles are going up $100. The games they're going to start coming out at $80 at the new releases. They said their first party releases are going to start coming up at $80. Sony hasn't said anything yet, but it's coming. Because they've already upped their prices overseas.
Really?
Sony did that a couple of years. Was it last year or a year and a half ago? A lot of people didn't like them for that. They caught a lot of flack. But
What was the lawsuit that I just seen? Something that Sony was getting into over the PlayStation.
Lawsuit for Sony PlayStation.
Oh.
Yeah, the PS5. They were just something about price gouging or something, and I'd seen something about it.
You said controllers.
Come on, Google Box. Let's go. U.S. law firm has filed a class action lawsuit against Sony alleging that the PS5 DualSense controller is defective due to drift.
Was that it? There's a couple of them.
I don't think
Sony's conduct was fraudulent, deceptive, unlawful, and unfair.
Are you talking about their restricted competition with their digital storefront?
Yeah.
Because they're starting to remove physical media from storefronts and to make everything come through their store only. And Alex is giving a thumbs up for whatever reason.
Yep. Man. Yeah, so if you could only buy your game from Sony, that is going to hurt all your game stores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to hurt.
It's becoming harder and harder to be a gamer in this day and age. I already told Melissa, I said, I can't. I'm not buying a Switch 2 when it comes out. I just can't do it. I can't justify that. I got to have a game that I really want to want to play, and there's nothing coming out, and I just barely have time for gaming.
Here's the question. The new generation games that come out for Switch 2, will they work in the Switch?
They will
No,
not.
they're only going to be Switch 2.
I knew that. That's one I did know.
Now, there will be games that will be launched on Switch 1 and Switch 2 still, but the ones that are like promotedly I don't know how to say this. The new Mario Kart is only going to be on Switch 2, for example.
Really?
It will not be on Switch 1. There's a new Donkey Kong game coming out. It's only going to be on Switch 2. It will not be on Switch 1. But there are going to be games that are coming out that are going to be released on Switch 1 and Switch 2. Most of them are going to be third-party games, though. So, like Call of Duty, when it comes out on there, because they've already said there's going to be one coming on both consoles, it'll be out on both.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. One other little cool tidbit, and then I'll tip my hat and be done with this segment if everyone else is. The Joy-Cons in the Switch 2. So they got a little bit more tech, cool wizardry going on. There is an IR sensor on them, both of them, and you have the ability to use them as mouse controls. So if you have that propped up, you can take your Joy-Con, put it on its side, and use it as an actual mouse. And there's a trigger. There's triggers on the sides and then on the inside. So it's like it's a narrower mouse. Think of this, but half of it, and that's your Joy-Con. So, and there's a little slider that goes on the bottom of it to kind of help keep it a smoother experience.
Also,
a different way of playing.
Has anybody that's been beta testing it reported problems with the magnet mounts?
They have. So in some of the media events, they actually have Switch 2s out where they just letting people just pull them and put them back in like as many times as they can or as they want to.
Okay.
And it's holding it pretty good. Now, obviously, there's going to be someone, and there's going to be kids that are going to find a way to destroy those things and break it apart,
Yep.
But in theory, it should be a bit harder and a bit more secure for accidental damage,
Yeah, that was my biggest thing was I seen that they were held on by magnets, and I'm like, that won't take long at all to destroy those.
Yeah. So in one video, so you have to there's a trigger you have to press to release the magnet. And in the video, he tried to pull it apart without hitting the trigger, and it wouldn't budge. He was
Really?
yanking on it, and it wouldn't come out. So you actually have to press that trigger for it to release the magnetism, and you pop it out.
Huh. Interesting. Well, if it wasn't $450, I would halfway think about it.
Right?
Yeah. Because, I mean, my mind can understand everything going up, because I'm pretty sure the Xbox 360, when I bought it, I bought the first one H.H. Gregg and Terre Haute ever sold. I'm pretty sure it was, $299? $250 when they came out? And you got to think that was almost 2 decades ago at this point. So game consoles not going up in price over 2 decades, it probably wouldn't be such a shock to us if they kind of would have went up more incrementally, rather than going from where they are now to way up there.
Yeah, I was willing to pay $400 for this thing, but when they came out and was like $450, $500, I'm like, that's too steep for my brain to swing. Especially when I have to do the adult thing and have a kid and be sure I'm putting my priorities right.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, we'll get one eventually. Sometime down the road, they'll have a better deal that at least gives you more bang for your buck.
Have a better deal. Hopefully they'll have a Mario Kart edition that comes out with the Mario Kart game.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be one of their big evergreen titles that's going to just constantly get bigger and bigger. I will admit, the Mario Kart game coming out is pretty intuitive. It's pretty crazy. They got a lot more, and it's a whole huge open world. Like you continually race in between courses.
Oh, really?
So it's like even though you do one track and you win or lose, whatever, you still everyone races from that track to the next track. So it's just constantly racing. You're constantly throwing shells, and it just gets great. It looks like a real fun time.
Huh.
Up to 24 players online.
Wow. That's impressive. Yeah. That is impressive. See, because I hadn't even heard of any of that part of it.
It looks really cool.
It does. But too bad I have adult issues now and I can't afford it.
That's right. That's why we need this podcast to go off and make everybody money.
Yes, that is correct.
Wow. But with that being said.
Okay, so I guess we'll move on to our third topic of the night, and that is the failing International Space Station and people blaming it on the Russians. I don't know, did you guys, I think I shared the story to the chat. It's been way too long ago now. But it was a story kept popping up, coming across and saying the International Space Station is facing a critical condition, according to NASA and the Aerospace Safety Advisory Panel, which unfortunately has the acronym ASAP. Primarily due to structural issues, outdated equipment, and budget constraints. ASAP has rated the situation as a maximum risk level of 5 out of 5. Highlighting concerns like cracks in the Russian Zvezda module, obsolete spacesuits, and unavailable spare parts. The International Space Station is expected to remain operational until 2030, but a lack of a clear contingency plan for safe deorbit is raising further concerns. Really?
I mean, I don't know what you want me to do here.
Yeah. So in 2030, I know right now SpaceX was supposed to create a craft that would go up and push it and make it strategically crash into the Pacific Ocean. Mm-hmm. They're saying potentially by 2027 this thing may come crashing down to the earth on its own. Seriously, Alex.
This is not me. I mean, I don't know. I'm innocent here. I have literal innocence here.
Yeah. I tried looking up some stuff on some other places, but it appears, like I said, the only thing I can find is that with our current space program and current manufacturers of pods going up there, Boeing, not able to have safe travel back and forth, have reliable travel. That's where our issue is being. And I don't know if that's because people are cheaping out on the quality of what they're sending up there or what it is. But I know there's other things on behind the scenes at Boeing that are making their issues known. But I don't know the last time that a Russian craft even went up there. I'm pretty sure they're still using all the old Sputnik stuff. So, also, I believe this year especially, there's more budget cuts that have come that are kind of making them question. Because right now they need to spend a decent amount of money on the space station to keep it going, but the money's not there. And I don't know, do we think right now that the space station has pretty well served its purpose? And I really don't know if there's anything else they can do up there.
Wasn't one of the ideas with the space station to be like a midway point between us and the moon? To be able to, the shuttle there a little bit easier?
I mean, with the way the spacecraft are made currently, I don't see that being feasible, but but I guess that could have been an option. Because right now, the only thing that ever docks at the space station is the capsule. So maybe for a return flight from the moon back to Earth when it's just a capsule going back, maybe. But as far as going to the moon, I don't see that being feasible.
Because I know that was, I mean, obviously we've talked about Musk and we talked about his things. I know he always wanted to go to Mars.
He still does.
I just always heard that in order for us to get to Mars, we need to be able to go back to the moon.
Right.
And go from the moon to Mars then. So yeah. I may have thought that up in my head about them using the International Space Station as that.
Well, the International Space Station, it only orbits at like 250 miles above the surface.
That's not that far.
No, and the moon is 239,000 miles.
That's a lot farther.
So, and Katy Perry only made it 67. Only made it 67 miles.
She never left the ground.
We saw the capsule come back to the ground. It was off the ground.
We saw a capsule come back to the ground.
And we saw her try to open the door from the inside.
Yeah.
So,
and then get told to shut it so that Bezos could open it with his special tools.
Yes.
She came back with special powers.
Came back the meme queen for sure. That is true.
The other thing was they were talking about how the door opens in. He said in all other spacecrafts, the door always opens out so they can withstand the pressure. Yeah. And that door opened in, which they're saying there's not a whole lot of ways that they actually build it where it could withstand the pressure that it needed and still open inward.
Airplane doors even open outward, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Bezos, what are you doing? Interesting.
Where's the mute button?
We can't mute him.
Someone text Elizabeth and tell her to go down and kick Alex. Oh, that reminds me. We forgot. I know who our other sponsor is. Apollo was supposed to be the other sponsor.
That's right. He was going to sponsor our podcast. I told her that today. So, yeah, our other sponsor is my dog, Apollo. He says, woof.
Woof.
Dog has little words.
That was all.
I don't even know where my dog is.
And back to the podcast.
Don't even know where my dog is. Upstairs, huh? So
what you're saying, sorry, I'm just trying to circle my mind around what is the plan here. They don't know if the International Space Station is going to be able to tactically be brought down before it just comes down on its own.
Correct, because as of right now, the spacecraft to bring it down is not built. So it wasn't planned on being built until 2030/31. But now they're saying as early as 27, this thing could start coming down on its own.
Well, I mean, what goes up must come down.
Correct. You are correct, sir. So, my thought I had is they bolted these things together in space. Why can't they put a panel on it and kick that section out and separate it?
We do not know.
I'm pretty sure it's closed off right now where they can't get into it.
We do not know. We're very confused.
If they could assemble it, why can't they disassemble that
Well,
section?
that brings up another question.
Well,
Did we actually go to the moon?
No. You see,
I have a different
'Cause
take on that. It's yes, but that's not the videos they show you.
Well, the whole thing is, I mean, we can do another podcast on this, but the whole thing is like if we actually didn't go to the moon, then there's no conversation about people leaving in rocket ships to go to, the space station and get out of the atmosphere. A lot of people don't even believe there's a space station. They believe that it's not even like because you never actually see the thing flying, right?
It's 200 and something miles above the Earth. How are you going to see it?
Well,
You can
that's not the
see
point.
if you have your telescope out every once in a while. You can see the blinking
You're
light as
missing
it
the
travels.
And
across
also,
the sky.
you can. So, if you have a ham radio, you can also communicate with the astronauts on it.
well, I have a
pretty
turkey
cool.
radio, so I don't think mine's going to work.
So,
Like,
I have
the astronauts on it could be on the ground still talking on ham radios.
a ham
Yeah,
radio.
Leo.
That is true.
They don't have to be in
There's
space
that
to talk
side.
on ham radio.
All I'm saying is there's a
Leo
lot
over
of
here just
speculation.
raining on everybody's parade.
There's quite a bit of
Like they do down
speculation
in
about
Africa.
Oh,
this. Is highly inappropriate.
call Leo
Makes me
Africa
wanna
because
throw
he's
up in
blessing
my
them
mouth.
rains.
It makes me want to throw up inside of my mouth, and then eat my own throw up, like Apollo.
Oh,
He's sponsoring,
which
our
is our
podcast.
sponsor.
Take all my cues from my dog.
Yeah, that's why Elizabeth
Incidentally,
always
he does not
chases
have-
you with a newspaper.
Incidentally, he does not have a job yet. I came home the other day, looked at him, I said, "Hey, man, you got a job yet?" And he just kind of looked up at me. I was like, "Well, get to rolling. We got to make some dough."
Yep.
Anyway. No, honestly, there's a lot of people that think that the space station isn't real, like Leo said, and that the moon landing wasn't actually real either. And so I don't believe that's true, by the way. I'm just advocating.
It's
and
real.
giving a
It's
voice
just
to
not in space.
like as Leo has previously stated, it is real, but just not in space. And so it's all a big show. You've got production, you've got Tyler's ancestry line, you've got his hairline. All those things are important when it comes to producing a movie about the space station.
It's gonna produce my face.
Here's the thing: if you can get a
This.
Nintendo Wii Switch, whatever the crap you guys are calling it, and 1080p, but you can't take a photo of Sassy in the woods, there's a real problem. Why can't we get a non-blurry photo of this guy? And who's got him? That's what I want to know. But that's another podcast for another day. Anyway,
Leo, I heard you hacking at your keyboard. What are you looking at?
Tyler, your wife's knocking on the door. It's time to go to bed.
No, she's not knocking on my door.
Well, somebody's knocking on your door.
She's
Maybe it's
too
Sassy.
pregnant to get up.
Maybe it's Sasquatch knocking at your door.
So, the lunar rover
Yep.
that they drove on the moon, right?
Yeah.
Drove on the moon.
Driven? Drove.
Head driven.
It literally looks like they strapped two lawn chairs to a car frame.
Can
it
we
costs
get this in
something like-
real time, Leo?
It cost them something like $200 and some billion to build.
They didn't spend that much money in the 60s.
Did they have that kind of money in the 60s? How far away are we from the 60s right now?
How far away out?
60 years.
It's 2025. So we're 60 years from 1965.
That's a good point. Math.
Good
I
point.
don't do it. Well, I don't know. Leah's got a point. I don't know that you can strap two lawn chairs to a bunch of tires and roll it around the moon. Or can you? The world may never know.
They won't. They won't.
So
Oh,
all of the talk about Whitney
Oh,
Houston
no.
going in the rocket, up to
Huh?
the top
What?
of the atmosphere and then coming back down.
Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston,
Wait, was it her? Which actor was it? Which actress or song
Katy-
person?
Katy Perry.
There you go. That's the name.
Whitney Houston.
Nowhere even close, dude. Nowhere
I got a letter right.
Well, she's another cyborg, though. I don't know if you've seen that recently or not. The whole where her eye locked up and she kind of was like tweaking out, almost like she was glitching.
Yeah.
But she's been a robot for a long time.
Yeah. So
She's a part of Cyborg Stan's water crises that he's, 100 liters per person. Share kindly, folks.
I don't believe in sharing kindly.
Share your water.
I share.
By the way, he's got like 9 swimming pools, like a house the size of Antarctica, a house the size of Tyler Todd's ego, and his beard.
I have no ego.
I love that short that Brett Cooper did about that because that was a lot of information.
That was great.
Useful in a short amount of time.
We say hello to Brett Cooper, which sounds like a never mind. I'm not going to go there. Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
Before I get
Moving
canceled.
on up.
I've already been canceled.
You already are
I already
canceled.
canceled. So, any other recent events we want to discuss? Don't go into too much detail because we're going to try to do another episode next week. So,
Yeah, no.
Warren Buffett stepping down.
what?
Warren Buffett stepping down.
Did he
Warren
step down?
Buffett stepped down.
He did step down.
He's in the process.
He's no longer a Buffett. He's just a Warren.
Stepping down as the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway.
Berkshire Hathaway. Yep. Dude, the dude's got more money than anything ever. I do agree with what I just seen him say the other day.
He is also 96, so
So, I was
He's
right
old
before we
and
came
frail.
on here. Right before we came on here, I read something that he posted, and one thing I actually agree with him ever saying is that if you want your budget passed, how did that? No, I done forgot. If you want a balanced budget, dang it.
If you want a balanced budget, don't spend your money.
Hold on.
Spend
I thought
less
I
than
had-
you save.
Spend less than you save, huh?
That is how you
All right.
get financially
Warren
healthy.
Buffett's plan to eliminate America's debt in 5 minutes. Okay.
mm-hmm.
What is
Dwayne Johnson's
dinging and
president.
bobbing? That's somebody else. Okay.
Electing Tyler Todd as our social rights activist.
Right.
Yes.
So he wants to make politicians personally accountable for it. So under Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution, 2/3 of the state's legislatures could call for a convention to propose a new amendment. This amendment, right? He put, I could end the deficit in 5 minutes. You just pass a law that says anytime there is a deficit of more than 3% of the GDP, all sitting members of Congress are ineligible for re-election.
Uh-oh. Bingo, Yahtzee, our services.
All
Yep.
Elected officials.
So it gets
Term
outside.
limits.
If it ever gets outside of 3%, none of them can be reelected.
I like it.
And you 100% know
Let's get it going.
they would have that thing cracked down to 3% in about 3 days.
See, that's the problem, though. Is we could never get them to actually vote on that.
Oh no, they would never vote on that.
That's why the things never get better, because you'd actually have to get somebody to actually vote yes to that.
People would be hanging from the rafters.
You got to have
and
someone
stealing
who's there
lights.
to actually do their job and not be a career politician, and that's never going to happen. They want a cushy lifestyle.
We don't have that because we got
Nancy
too many
Pelosi.
career politicians.
People, stop sending me messages. I'm trying to do.
Personally, I think they should put term limits on all politicians, and you should only be able to serve 2 terms. Like the El Presidento,
Yep.
and then you get
Like
booted
that.
out.
Get booted out. Booted to
I
the
think
curb.
most of the American people agree with that, although it'll never happen because corporate America is the greedy, and they're running
Yes.
the United States.
Right.
So that's why we're in the position we're in, because why pay people what they're worth? Why don't we just steal money from people and then pretend like, oh, hey, we're doing good things for you, okay? We got you a pizza party coming right your way.
Pizza party.
We should
coming
probably also
next
put like
Friday.
age limits on some of that stuff too.
I like that idea. If the Catholics can do it for people who can vote for the next pope, I think we should be able to do it for Congress.
Exactly.
Sure can. I voted for the next pope. I voted at Tyler L. Todd.
I don't think you didn't vote for this Tyler because his middle initial is not L.
That's very true.
Not L.
It was a Doodlebog version of Tyler.
Was it?
A home anyway.
I don't know where I was going with that. I got distracted.
Yeah, you did.
Tyler, how's the chocolate milk coming?
Not great. He's doing terrible.
Needs screen sharing permission.
He
Why do you need
backwashes
screen sharing
before he
permission?
drinks it.
I must have hit something wrong.
Yep.
I
It
was
says
clicking around.
You don't have permission to screen share, is what it's telling me.
How dare that not give me permission to screen share?
Screen share. Are you sharing something?
Not yet.
Okay. How about now?
You want me to do it now?
I don't know. What else we got? We're kind of out of our topics, so let's see
We're
what
done?
else we got. What else we got? It'd be a nice and short hour and 15 minutes when we get done here, which is short for us recently because we've been cracking that 2-hour timeline on a lot of them. It would be nice to go to bed at a halfway decent hour tonight and then get up early in the morning and edit this.
All right. Well, here is the last sponsor.
Last sponsor. Uh-oh. Han Solo needs... Why are you trying to share stuff right now,
Oh,
Alex?
this is inappropriate.
What
What is that?
is that, Alex? That's your face imposed over the country of Africa or continent of
This is
Africa.
highly just the debauchery continues.
Blessing the reins.
The debauchery is highly inappropriate.
100% blessing the reins, dude.
It should be completely. Like, why would you do that? Like, what possesses you to be a terrorist, Tyler?
Huh?
What possesses you to enjoy terrorism on a regular basis?
I love it.
I do too.
I love
What
that
is that?
screensaver.
What is that, Tyler?
That's my screensaver.
Darth Vader.
That's what his brain looks like.
It's an animated. When I'm not doing anything, it animates and has Darth Vader breathing.
Nice.
Sure, it does.
Yeah.
Small children crying on a regular basis.
We decided we're getting ducks
Oh boy!
instead of chickens. We're getting ducks,
Boy,
and I'm getting a black one, and his name will be Duck Vader.
yes,
Duck Vader.
Duck Vader.
Duck Vader. Love it.
I endorse this.
So we
Maybe
decided-
Duck Vader will help us with our podcast later.
You never know. He may make a special appearance. So, anybody got anything else for tonight? Tyler sending photos to the group. Oh,
This
that's
is
that thing. Okay.
It's wrong. What he does is wrong. He should be arrested and tried for high treason. He's a mutinist. He's a first mate mutinist who
All right.
streaks on the streets of Terre Haute.
I do. I streak a lot of places.
We've got other things we need to discuss off camera, so I guess at this point in time, we'll call this dude closed. And,
Clothes like the clothes I'm wearing.
See you next
Like,
week.
subscribe, and share for more ridiculousness.
And
Woo!
Alex.
Yes.
1 week. We'll do this again.
Okay.
Be prepared.
I don't know if I can do that, but
Be
Alright.
prepared.
I'll give it.
Alright.
I'll give it my best. I'm not gonna make any promises, but I'll give it my best.
Thank you very much. We'll see you guys later.
Peace.